I'm Erin Ryan, political commentator, comedy writer, and host of Crooked Media's Hysteria.
And I'm co-host Alyssa Mastromonaco, former White House Deputy Chief of Staff for President Obama.
Each week on Hysteria, we are joined by a team of hilariously opinionated ladies to discuss the headlines from the serious to the absurd.
We cover everything from reproductive rights to rom-coms and break down the political news of the week and cultural stories that affect women's lives.
New episodes of Hysteria drop every Thursday. Listen on Odyssey, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
I always thought owning a vacation home was hard work, from finding guests to just maintaining it. But with Vacasa, they put my vacation home to work for me, caring deeply for my home in every way. Best of all, since switching from my last property manager, Vacasa has been earning us over 20% more. Because it's not just a vacation home, it's a Vacasa home.
Get your free vacation income estimate to see how much your vacation home can earn you. Call 470-900-4828 or visit vacasa.com/free-estimate.
It's Kevin Sheehan on the Team 980 and the Odyssey app.
Kickoff tonight, 8:15. Coverage of Washington versus Seattle all day long. Travis Thomas follows me, Reese Waters after that. Chris Russell, Pete Medhurst, taking you all the way up to the official pregame show, leading you into Washington, Seattle tonight. Again, the line's moving around. Seattle now a 1-point favorite in a lot of spots. The weather windy. It's going to be windy and breezy during the day with dropping temperatures. The forecast is for it to diminish wind-wise in the evening and right around kickoff, but temperatures are in the right around kickoff in the mid to upper 30s, dropping into the low 30s by the end of the game. So not super cold weather for November 29th, but chilly weather for the Seahawks and Washington tonight in a game which would put Washington into the 7th spot in the NFC playoff seeding through the end of Week 12 if it were to happen. Ben Standig is our Washington football team insider. You can follow Ben on Twitter at Ben Standig. You can subscribe to The Athletic and read Ben. I urge you to do so. He joins us right now. On Friday when we talked and when I talked to Rivera, we were talking about Curtis Samuel and Logan Thomas's potential availability for tonight. There was more news over the weekend. What is your guess on both of them tonight?
Yeah, I think they're both going to play, assuming they didn't have any kind of setback since we saw the team last on Saturday. Rivera talked about Logan Thomas, his tense and his use of words made it pretty clear he was going to play, and Curtis Samuel kind of the same. Pitch counts, like you said, Samuel will be more restrictive, it appears, after they broke it last time in the Atlanta game that led to this latest setback. So, yeah, it looks like they'll both be back out there, and that's, quite the jolt to the system in terms of, offensive weaponry for a group that, it's been, all things considered, has held up despite the injuries. But to get these two guys back, especially Logan Thomas in the red zone, and if Curtis Samuel can do the speed thing that he was brought in to do in the open field and, take some pressure off Terry McLaurin and Antonio Gibson, I mean, that would be huge. So, potentially, pretty seismic situation here if these guys are back out there ready to go.
Who's going to start at center tonight?
I'm assuming it will be Wes Schweitzer. Tyler Larson's been ruled out. So Schweitzer, Keith Ishmael are the two centers. My guess is that they're going to bring up another offensive lineman from the practice squad for more depth. I would guess John Toth would be my guess. That's just for depth. So Schweitzer would be the answer. He's the one that replaced Larson, and he's been pretty solid wherever he's been playing this year on the offensive line. He's been solid. So other than the fact that it's not, the place he's played the most, it shouldn't be a huge issue.
Ben Standig joining us on the show. He and David Aldridge have just, I guess, co-authored a story, their latest story on The Athletic, titled, "How Good Really Is Taylor Heineke? The Answer May Decide Ron Rivera's Fate in Washington." Without giving us everything from the story, I just think it's interesting, and you and I have had this conversation both on the air and off, after the Denver game, we went from, and you and I were kind of on the same page, that this is no longer about, the record this year or, having a chance to contend for anything. It's about the big picture. It's about the macro. It's about the state of the organization on one side of the building. It's about the football operation, which now has to find and focus a lot of its effort on identifying who the quarterback of the future is going to be. 2 games later, have you changed your whole sort of positioning on how you view the team right now and the quarterback position?
Well, how I view the organization, no, because nothing's changed on that front.
Right.
We still have
I'm talking about the football operation.
Yeah. Well, I mean, look, I'll say this for Taylor Heineke. I mean, at a base level, if you ignore his backstory, the resume, anything before this season, he's been okay. I mean, his stats are sort of below middle of the pack, but potentially good enough to be helpful. But nothing like, wow, here he is, he's going to carry the team, so on and so on. But that said, he's continued to move up the ranks. When we talk now about free agent quarterbacks next year, the Teddy Bridgewaters, the Andy Daltons, and I think Taylor Heineke is kind of in that group. I mean, we could quibble over, whether certain those guys, because they have more experience, do a couple different things better or different, are better. But it's not like adding one of those guys would make anybody feel marketably better than where they're at. And that's just another indication that Taylor Heineke continues to improve and impress. And that's not nothing. That's not nothing. And who knows where this goes. And that's something to consider. So from that perspective, yes. And part of the exercise here for us also was that, it's not just enough to keep saying they need to get a better quarterback or whatever. You also have to look at the landscape and look at it from the perspective of next year's Ron Rivera's 3rd season. What does it mean to have Taylor Heineke or somebody else at quarterback? There's a lot that you could make a case that half the league, or roughly half the league, could be in the QB market next year, based on either they just don't have enough or they're kind of getting tired. Even a case like Seattle, right? Russell Wilson is obviously, they don't need a quarterback. But, if Seattle loses today, their season is effectively over, and the Russell Wilson-Pete Carroll marriage might be at the end, just because it's stale, if for nothing else. So maybe he gets sprung free, or maybe it's Pete Carroll. But whatever, my point is, a good chunk of the league could be in this market, and this is not a great year for free agent quarterbacks. The draft is not loaded to the top. So, we could sit here and say they go get one. That's easier said than done. So then it becomes a lot of, here's what you have. What do you think? And again, Taylor Heineke continues to do a pretty solid job of making you think, well, look, he's not that bad, right? He can do some good things, and he makes plays at the end of the game. That always is a huge marker for me. That's whether I buy a guy. So, I think he continues to improve and impress in that direction. The ceiling is the question, but right now we're not talking about his ceiling. We're just talking about, can you win? Can you beat Seattle? Can you win enough more games here to get in the playoffs? And that's sort of a different story, which is the one we're talking about.
This is really such an interesting conversation. And at the same time, we don't have to do anything, and they don't have to do anything until the season's over. There's going to be another 7 games of a sample size to add to, the 8 that he's played already this year, or I'm sorry, the 9.5 that he's played already this year. But it's still a very fascinating conversation because there's so much being brought into it. I asked Ron Rivera in my conversation on Friday, I essentially tried to ask him, you guys have sort of proven through your actions with, trying to trade for Stafford, and looking at everybody and then signing Fitzpatrick and then even the discussions about Trubisky before the trade deadline. But is it possible that the last 2 weeks have started to change the minds of people in the organization that had already made up their minds that they had to aim higher? And he said, possibly. And I think that combined with what you've brought up and you and I have discussed in the past, which is, there may not be a lot of options. Just because you want to aim higher doesn't mean you will land on higher. Especially for this organization, it's more difficult. You said, who knows where it goes? The question for you is, where can it go? What can be earned over these final 7 weeks?
Well, I mean, in terms of the quarterback specifically, faith in Taylor Heineke. I think I'm right about this, but don't quote me because it's early and I haven't had my coffee. But I think I read the other day when I was looking at some stats that Washington is 4-0 this season when scoring in the last 2 minutes of the game. I'm not sure if I have that exactly right, but obviously they did score at the end against the Giants in Atlanta, and it's not to say that every game has been a tight one or, that completely. I guess they didn't score in the last 2 minutes against Carolina, right? Or whatever. Anyway, the point is that Taylor Heineke
they kicked a field goal, right, to make it to extend the lead to 6. I don't know if that was in the final 2 minutes or not, but it was a good drive in which they got into field goal range after the long drive that gave them the lead in the fourth quarter.
Right. The point is whether it's 2 minutes or 4 minutes or just we recognize what it was, that 4th-and-3 play. He makes clutch plays, and to me, that is, that's huge. It's, does the guy always, like, I'm watching basketball. Does the best player for the first 43 minutes want the ball in his hand for the last 5? Some do, some don't, and that is a huge deal. And I think Taylor Heineke has shown over and over again he's unafraid of those moments, and on some level, what else do you really kind of want to feel good about yourself that you have a chance when the game is on the line? And he keeps doing that. Now there's 7 games to go. Up until this point, everything has been kind of some level of foreplay, right? Now it's just like, we're going to have some fun and we'll see what happens, and this is sort of cute. But now this is real. They win today. They are the 7th seed with a few games to go. The schedule opens up for them. After going through this gauntlet for most of the year, the Seattle game was viewed as it's going to be a tough one. Now, they may lose the game, but Seattle is reeling. The Raiders won last week, but they just lost 3 in a row. And then the NFC East games, none of these teams are looking that formidable right now, including the Cowboys. So all of a sudden, Taylor Heineke is going to be facing scenarios where, hey, if you win this game, you might put this team in the playoffs. And it's not obviously just on him. The defense has got to continue to be on its uptick the way it's been the last couple of weeks after a pretty miserable first 8 games. And, Antonio Gibson can't fumble, and you got to get lucky with the injuries and things like that. But, so much always hinges on the quarterback. And if he continues to make plays down the stretch with these last few games, there absolutely could be a world where by the end of the year we're saying, all right, you know what? Sure, maybe you can, if you can figure out a way to get a top 10 guy, that's cool. But, this isn't the worst case scenario because he's already shown that he's unafraid of the moment and can make plays when needed.
Ben Standig's joining us for this conversation. Game tonight against Seattle. It's a game in which all of this conversation may turn dramatically in the opposite direction tomorrow morning, and for the rest of the week, and then may turn back next week because that's kind of the way the NFL works. But what he can earn, Ben, you sort of said it, but I'll say it more definitively. He can earn the 2022 starting position over these final 7 games. He can earn the opportunity for the team to put off for at least another year the search for its franchise quarterback. Because right now, in the division, nobody's played in the last couple of weeks better than Taylor Heineke. In the NFC, there are only a few quarterbacks overall that in recent weeks have played better than Taylor Heineke. And if he puts another performance like that out there tonight in front of a national television audience, and they make a run and they're playing a postseason game, especially when you consider that the options may not be that attractive, that's what he can earn. I'm not saying it's the right thing for the organization, but he can absolutely earn that because a big part of this conversation is the way they feel about him personally in terms of all the intangibles, and he checks every box. He's a leader, he's a communicator, and everybody believes when they get on the team bus to drive to the stadium from the team hotel that they've got a chance with this guy. And Rivera has expressed to us since the moment he arrived that is big for him, really big for him. All right. So, by the way, the story that you and David wrote this morning on the Athletic is definitely worth the read. And if you go decide to subscribe to the Athletic, do it by going to that article and subscribing from that article. That'll help Ben out. All right, what are the keys?
I'll just say right now, last day you can get it subscription $12 for the whole year. Today's the last day. I'll say that.
And I'm just gonna look. Ben is. I love Ben. He's just gotten so much. He's gotten so much better over the years, and he's gotten this beat, which is the Washington football beat, where he was mired in the Wizards and Georgetown beat. Ben is one of my favorites. He is sharp, and he writes well, and he writes a lot on the football team. So if you're not a subscriber, you should be. What are the keys tonight to beating Seattle?
Well, I mean, considering the franchise's historic suckiness on Monday Night Football, I guess I would just say, stay in the moment, stay focused, and something that's something they've been better at the last couple weeks. I was kind of noting the other day that, and this is not a knock on Chase Young per se, but what was, if we had to pick two words to describe how Ron Rivera, two words that Ron Rivera felt like he said the most over the first 8 weeks, discipline and maturity, as in lack thereof, came up all the time.
Yep.
And I haven't heard those words from him for a minute here. And I'm not saying, it always felt like, as we discussed it was sort of centered on Chase Young and maybe Montez Sweat to a degree. And, now we're not hearing that. And what I was thinking about is, like, the media, we get certain players every week. That's basically the quarterback, but then also Chase Young and Terry McLaurin. Now that Chase Young's out, we've been getting a bit more of Jonathan Allen. And whether it's a perception or reality situation, or maybe it's both are meeting each other, John Allen is a very serious person. He comes across as sober and mature. He doesn't get too high. He doesn't get too low. But if he's an avatar for the locker room, it makes you think that this group is taking things seriously, and it feels like that's been the case the last couple of weeks. So I just think they need to continue to not just to project that, but actually to do it. And that's what they've done the last few weeks. Obviously, turnovers are always huge. Russell Wilson has looked like kind of a mess since he's come back from his hand injury. And, they've got Seattle's obviously got two huge weapons at receiver, DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett. So you got to keep those guys in check, and they're just going to have to do a good job of not letting Russell Wilson spring free. And I think that's where, from a defensive perspective, that maturity and discipline kicks in. Do a good job on the read options. He's going to have better wheels to get outside than Cam Newton did. You're going to have to watch him from there and not let him get off. And so, beyond that, turnovers, things like that, always going to be key, but contain Russell Wilson and stay focused, and I think they've got a good shot.
It really is interesting, the defensive performance the last 2 weeks after the losses of Chase Young and Montez Sweat, and I'm not going to sit here and try the case that they're just better off moving forward without those two guys, because when you have guys with that kind of game-changing talent, you don't just bail on it because they had a bad 10-game stretch, which they did. Again, I don't want to beat a dead horse. Chase Young had a bad season. I don't care what PFF's numbers tell you. Chase Young did not have a productive season before his injury, and hopefully he'll have a chance to come back healthy and be the player that we saw last year at times and the player we thought he was going to be. I'm certainly rooting for that. But it is always interesting because there are coaches, and this is something that any of you, all of you coaches who are listening out there, understand. There are coaches that just prefer players who do it their way, even if they aren't as talented as some of the players who won't do it their way. It just is more comfortable for them. And right now, I don't think there's any doubt that for Ron Rivera and Jack Del Rio, that James Smith-Williams and Casey Toohill and John Allen and Matt Ioannidis and Deron Payne and Shaka Toney and anybody else they're sticking in there, that they are, as you said, we haven't heard it at all these last 2 weeks, they are doing their job. They are adhering to their scheme. They are being disciplined, and they are being mature. These are all the things we heard for the first part of the season. All right, let's end it on this. Give me a prediction for tonight.
Oh, boy. This is – I just feel like this is so – look, I feel like Seattle, just listening to the stories coming out of their side of this, it feels like they're on their last legs, not just for this season, but for this kind of era. And that doesn't sound great. On the other hand, that makes them a desperate team. And for them, we're talking about Washington possibly getting into the top 7 with a win. Seattle stays in the mix with the win. They're out if they don't. So, their level of desperation, we could see a lot of, who knows, trick plays, going for it on 4th downs, whatever. So that level of desperation can change some things. And we've talked about Washington's up and down, to say the least, on Monday night. But, based on the last 2 weeks and based on where these teams are at, and looking at, Seattle's the team whose defense is struggling even more than Washington's right now. So, give me Washington something in the neighborhood of like 20-17. I mean, I don't see this as being a huge game offensively, although both defenses aren't so great. Just, I don't know where the offenses are per se. But, again, I'm excited to see what Washington's offense looks like if Curtis Samuel and Logan Thomas are out there in a meaningful way. And that part's going to be interesting. So, 2017 Washington, but, I mean, it's wild. And, they win, that they're literally the 7th seed right now. That's unbelievable. A lot of things have gone their way if that happens.
Well, I mean, what it does, I mean, the 2 wins coming into this week ensured that we got past Thanksgiving with still some meaningful games starting tonight. And a win tonight really sets the stage for, regardless really of what happens in Vegas next week, some really meaningful head-to-head division matchups down the stretch in what could be a wild division finish. Remember, Dallas plays this Thursday night against New Orleans. The Saints are reeling, but so are the Cowboys, and they're a short favorite on the road, which is interesting. Thanks for doing this, as always. We'll talk. We might end up talking tomorrow. We haven't figured that out yet. I'll talk to you about that a little bit later on, but enjoy the game.
All right, man. See ya.
Ben Standig, everybody, our Washington football team insider at Ben Standig on Twitter. All right, when we come back, my keys to a win tonight over the Seahawks, and then a prediction. Also, I want your keys. How do they beat Seattle? Give me 1 or 2 keys and a prediction at 301-230-0980. The Twitter poll is up. It's the Window Nation Twitter poll. Will Washington beat Seattle tonight? Yes or no? I'll give you the results of that. And I also want to tell you that Window Nation's best deal of the year has 2 days left in it. All right, the 29th of November and tomorrow, the 30th of November. 2 more days for buy 2, get 2 free with no limit, with no money down, no payments, and no interest for 2 full years. If you've been thinking about windows, you should be, especially if you've got high energy bills. If you had higher than normal energy bills in the summer, they're going to be even higher with these natural gas prices soaring this winter. If you've got old, drafty windows, give Window Nation a shot right now at 866-90Nation or windownation.com. All Window Nation does is windows. They're the experts. They installed over 200,000 windows in the last year alone. That's 40 times more than the average window company. 96% of them required no follow-up service. Again, the natural gas prices, we know what they are. We know what they are at the pump. They're continuing to rise even after hitting the temporary reserve. Does your energy bill say you're using more energy? If so, it's very likely because of your windows. Take a shot at Window Nation before you call anybody else. Use my name, Kevin Sheehan. They'll give you a free estimate so you have no risk in this. They'll give you a free estimate online if you prefer that. You can shop the estimate. You're not going to get a better deal. 866-90Nation, windownation.com. Buy 2, get 2 free with no limit for 2 more days. So you got to act now. All right, tell them I told you to call 866-90Nation, windownation.com. Buy 2, get 2 free, no limit, no money down, no payments, no interest for 2 full years. That's 866-90Nation or windownation.com.
The world moves pretty fast. 1 minute you're standing, the next you're dragging. How can you keep up? I'll tell you. I'm Ira Madison III, host of Keep It. Each week, Louis Vertel, Aida Osman, and I do the hard work of exploring the intersection between entertainment, culture, and politics, with guests like Billy Porter, Catherine O'Hara, Ronan Farrow, Francesca Ramsey, and more. New episodes of Keep It drop every Wednesday. Listen on Odyssey, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
I always thought owning a vacation home was hard work. from finding guests to just maintaining it. But with Vacasa, they put my vacation home to work for me, caring deeply for my home in every way. Best of all, since switching from my last property manager, Vacasa has been earning us over 20% more. Because it's not just a vacation home, it's a Vacasa home.
Get your free vacation income estimate to see how much your vacation home can earn you. Call 470-900-4828 or visit vacasa.com/free-estimate.
Calling all women. Did you know a birth control pill does not need estrogen to prevent pregnancy? Slind birth control is over 98% effective and is estrogen-free. So if you're interested in avoiding unnecessary hormones, or you have a health reason to steer clear of estrogen, it's time to say goodbye to estrogen and hello to Slind. Hello to a flexible window to catch up on a missed pill, and hello to periods on a schedule. Do not take Slind if you have kidney problems, reduced adrenal gland function, cervical cancer, or any hormone-sensitive cancer, liver disease, or unexplained vaginal bleeding. If these happen with Slind, stop and call your doctor. Before taking Slind, tell your doctor if you may be pregnant or have had blood clots, stroke, heart attack, high potassium in your blood, diabetes, or depression, which can lead to possible serious side effects. Say goodbye to estrogen and hello to Slind. Talk to your doctor or visit slind.com.
It's Kevin Sheehan on the Team 980 and the Odyssey app.
All right, Washington beats Seattle tonight if what happens. I want your keys and a prediction as our BetQL listener lines are open at 301-230-0980. By the way, our Window Nation Twitter poll at Kevin Sheehan DC. Will Washington beat Seattle tonight so far? 61.4% of you say yes. 38.6% of you say no. All right. The keys to a win over the Seahawks starts with something that I think is about as obvious as we've had in any game they've played this year. The two starting quarterbacks in the game are the keys to this game more than anything else. And if they play like they've been playing, then Washington wins. Russell Wilson, if he plays like he's been playing, which is not very well, and Taylor Heineke plays like he's been playing, which is very well, it's really not that more complicated. The two most important players on the field playing like they've been playing means Washington wins tonight. Russell Wilson, since coming back from the finger injury, has been bad. A QBR of 12 in his first career shutout loss to the Packers in his first game back 2 weeks ago, and then a 22.2 QBR in a 23-13 loss to Arizona with Colt McCoy as the starting quarterback last week. He's yet to throw a touchdown pass since coming back. He's got 2 interceptions. He's taken 7 sacks and is barely completing 50% of his passes. Meantime, Taylor Heineke's played his best football of the season coming off the bye week. 42 of 54 with 4 touchdowns and no picks in wins over Tampa and Carolina. A 92.5 QBR last week, one of the best of the season for any quarterback. He wasn't good last week. He was great. It was his best performance of the season, and I don't know that there's a close second. He wasn't good in the game against Tampa 2 weeks ago. With the game on the line, he was great with the game on the line on that final 19-play drive. He's been, okay, regardless about the big picture conversation, the future conversation, is he or isn't he? You can't deny that he's been a high-level quarterback the last 2 weeks. He's played quarterback at a high level, especially with the game on the line. For him, by the way, in many ways for this team also, the numbers essentially bear out that as he goes, so goes the offense. In the team's 4 wins, he's completing 74.4% of his passes, 8.2 yards per pass attempt, a 9-to-1 touchdown over interception ratio, a 117.6 passer rating. In the team's 6 losses, a 60.7 completion percentage rate, 6.7 yards per pass attempt, a 6-to-8 touchdown to interception ratio, and a 73.5 passer rating. Offensively, if Taylor Heineke plays like he has the last 2 weeks, they'll win the game. If Russell Wilson plays the way he's played the last 2 weeks, they'll lose the game. Washington beat Seattle tonight. If Washington's quarterback plays like he's been playing and Seattle's quarterback plays like he's been playing, I'm not sure it's really much more difficult than that. But we'll mention a few other things. Washington wins tonight if the defense continues its resurgence of the last 2 games. One of the worst defenses in the league through the first 8 games. Since the bye, it's been markedly better. An excellent game overall against a banged-up Tampa offense. And to be fair, Tampa did not play well in that football game against Washington, in part because Washington was really good. John Allen, in particular, was outstanding. And then last week against Carolina, solid effort in Cam Newton's, first game after his return. By the way, if you weren't paying attention yesterday, Miami's defense made Carolina's offense look even worse than Washington's defense did a week ago. Miami held the Panthers yesterday to 10 points, 198 yards, 4 of 14 on third down, and made Matt Rule turn to P.J. Walker because Cam Newton was so ineffective in his second start. McCaffrey also got injured during the game. That should be noted. Newton, by the way, in the game yesterday against the Dolphins, was 5 for 21 with 2 interceptions. He had career lows of a 5.8, that's 5.8 passer rating, and a 5.4 QBR against the Dolphins. For comparative purposes, if you're wondering, he had a 120.5 passer rating last week and a 64.4 QBR against a Washington defense that we think comparatively played pretty well defensively, especially on third down last week. They held Carolina to 2 for 9 on third down last week. Last 2 weeks, the worst third down defense in the league is 6 for 19 on third down, just over 31%. That's excellent. That will be a key tonight. Seattle was 2 for 10 last week against the Cardinals on third down. All right, and they are the worst third down offense in the league. Washington is still, even after the last 2 weeks, the worst third down defense in the league. And Seattle is the worst third down offense in the league. I think, in watching Miami destroy Carolina, that maybe you could make the case that Washington's defensive performance last week against Carolina could be a bit misleading. But they played well against Tampa, too. So there's that. Washington beat Seattle tonight if it has its third straight productive night. And I'd be disappointed if it doesn't. Thirdly, Washington beat Seattle tonight if they get the ball to their playmakers by throwing the football. They've been balanced in their wins. I am for balance if it means that that's the best way to move the chains and score points. I'm against balance if it means that you're going to try to, stay balanced for the purposes of punting 7 times a game. It's not what they've done. They've been balanced the last 2 weeks, and they've moved the football. Seattle's run defense has been pretty good recently, but they've had issues with playmakers in space. There will be opportunities for McLaurin, for Samuel if he's back, Logan Thomas if he's back, DeAndre Carter, McKissick, Gibson, Humphreys, etc. If Heineke does what he's done pretty well, which is spread the ball around. Last week, listen to what Colt McCoy did against the Seattle defense. They could not run the football. Okay, James Conner, 3 yards per carry. 21 for 62. In fact, Seattle's last couple of opponents have not been able to run the football very effectively, including Green Bay. But last week, Colt McCoy went 35 of 44. 2 touchdowns in the game, no picks. He threw 8 completions to Zach Ertz, 11 to Rondell Moore on 11 targets. A.J. Green had 4 catches for 78 yards. Antoine Wesley had 4 catches. Connor had 5 catches out of the backfield. There's going to be an opportunity to spread it around. And by the way, end up with what Arizona ended up with over Seattle, which was a 79-49 play advantage and a 40-20 time of possession advantage. Really hard to lose games if you have 30 more offensive snaps in a game than your opponent. And Washington has done that the last 2 weeks. Now, they've done it with balance the last 2 weeks. 71-47 was the play count against Tampa. Last week, I think it was 61-45, or maybe it was 71-55, whatever it was. It was a 15 or 16 play difference. You do that tonight, you win the game. Spread it around to your playmakers. Throw the football to your playmakers. Lastly, this game tonight is a game that will be very interesting because they're playing an opponent that maybe Tampa thought they were playing a couple of weeks ago. An opponent that maybe they thought was done, at 2-6 and all the issues that they have. This is a mindset game for Seattle. Are you going to get a desperate Seattle, or are you going to get a team that is done? Are they desperate, or are they done tonight? If they're desperate, then you are going to get Seattle's best tonight and perhaps Russell Wilson's best tonight. This is an organization that's won a lot of games. They have never lost more than 7 games in a season since Russell Wilson took over in 2012. So they're on the verge of losing the most games they've lost in a season if they lose tonight. A lot of pride in this organization, you would think. One of the better football operations and organizations in the last 10 seasons. They have really cratered this year, but there are 7 games left, and the NFC wildcard picture is wide open even for a 3-7 team. What are you going to get from Seattle tonight? Have they moved on from the Russell Wilson, Pete Carroll era? Is it over? Or is there one last gasp in them? I have no idea. We won't know until tonight. But if you get what you've got in the last couple of weeks, this should be a Washington win tonight. And I know I have not said that very often this year. I don't want to classify it as a should win because I don't think it is a should win. I think it's a could win. But if Seattle is in that mindset of being done, then you better beat them. You better clock them badly. I mean, this better be a throttling if you get a team in Seattle that has clearly hung up the towel on this season. My prediction, Brendan's prediction, your keys and predictions when we come back. It's the Kevin Sheehan Show on the Team 980, theteam980.com. We're also on the Odyssey app, 301-230-0980. Phone lines open.
I always thought owning a vacation home was hard work, from finding guests to just maintaining it. But with Vacasa, they put my vacation home to work for me, caring deeply for my home in every way. Best of all, since switching from my last property manager, Vacasa has been earning us over 20% more. Because it's not just a vacation home, it's a Vacasa home.
Get your free vacation income estimate to see how much your vacation home can earn you. Call 470-900-4828 or visit vacasa.com/free-estimate.
Everyone, quiet down. We're recording. Okay, so what do you call it?
IG stuff.
IG. Okay. And what do you want to be?
Oh, jeez. I want to be known for making people feel good. I think I'm something new every day.
I like to try stuff out. I want to be me. That's it, really.
I want, I don't know. I'm going to get back to you on that.
Whoever it is you want to be, it's yours to make. Instagram.
We've been waiting all year for this holiday season, so let's make it more memorable. With more cheer, more helping.
Thanks for your donation.
And more joy on your road trips. We've all been waiting to come together and make this December one to remember. Have a happy and safe holiday season from Lexus. Experience amazing at your Lexus dealer.
It's Kevin Sheehan on the Team 980 and the Odyssey app.
Are you ready?
All right, predictions. 301-230-0980, 301-230-0980. Brendan, you said to me during the break earlier in the show, you've never been more confident than this game tonight. Who do you got?
I'm taking Washington. I really think Seattle gave up last week. They looked terrible against a backup quarterback in Colt McCoy. Colt McCoy is 5 years over the hill. If Taylor Heineke has a game like Colt McCoy had last week, there is little to no chance Washington is losing this game. It's the most confident I've felt in a long time, and it scares me. I kind of think they win something like 27-10, 27-13. Russell Wilson doesn't look healthy. He doesn't look good. I just don't see any way, even with Washington missing their top two pass rushers, that Seattle's able to get anything going offensively.
You know, until this late move with definite sharp money on Seattle here, moving Seattle back to a favorite here, at least as of now. Before I saw that, I kind of felt the same way you did. I think this is a game they absolutely can win, and I feel strongly that they will. I had over the weekend in my mind something like 27-13 as a final score, so I'm going to stick with that. I think we're going to one other key, and I meant to mention this. I think it's really important for Washington to get off to a strong start and not give Seattle a chance to believe that they can win tonight and can keep their season alive. If somehow Washington got off to, a 2-score lead and Seattle's offense looks like looked tonight like it has in recent weeks, I think it could be a blowout. But I feel weird about that, too, because there is definitely sharp money coming back on Seattle, and the public's on Washington, too. I almost gave Seattle out as a smell test pick, a smell test 7-6 this weekend with a 2-1 NFL Sunday. I'll go 27-13, and that what we see them playing a team that basically is thrown in the towel. And it won't necessarily be an indication of what's going to happen next week or what's going to happen in some of these big division games, but it is going to put them in position at 5-6 to be playing for something. And that is really exciting considering where they were 3 weeks ago on Halloween night. All right, our BetQL listener lines are open. Download the BetQL app today or visit BetQL.com, 301-230-0980. Give me a key or two with a prediction. We'll start with Rick. Rick, go ahead.
Hey, good morning, Kevin. I think if we continue to play the way we've been playing, controlling the ball, eliminating turnovers, I think we can win out. I'm in on the score of like 23-20. I think Seattle will play their, they got to give it all they got because this is it if they don't win. And I'm excited to see Thomas and Samuel get back on the field there, and then hope the defense continues to play well. But I'm looking at a 23-20 score.
All right, thanks, Rick. I was just thinking as you were talking, because you said 23-20, and I think, the line indicates it would be a close game. Like, to me, the most unlikely headline tomorrow is Seattle and Russell Wilson save their season with their best game. I don't see that tonight with them. There's something about him in watching him the last couple of weeks, and Pete Carroll leaving that press conference last week and then having to come back, that reeks of a team that looks on the verge of caving. Ivan, go ahead.
Hey, what's up, Kevin? How you doing, man?
Good, Ivan.
Hey, listen, I was feeling pretty good until we just got the kiss of death with Brendan. As soon as Brendan said he feels pretty good, I said, "Uh-oh, there it goes." But anyway, I hate to agree with you so easily, but I had two variations of the same thing, which is Russell Wilson plays bad again, or Heineke outplays Russell, which is like again. I have a 23-18. I was gonna kid you last week, but I didn't get a chance to call you. Have you ever seen such excitement for a 4-6 team as what we did last week? But right now we have a chance to get into that last playoff spot. So So anyway. Yeah. Hey, listen, Kevin, real quick.
No. I want to get some other calls, and I'm up against it because it's going to be something that doesn't have to do with the game. We'll do that next time. Thanks, Ivan. Michael, go ahead.
As a great man once said, in this league, most games are lost and not won.
Yes, he was a
and
great man.
I think the key is don't lose, which means don't kill yourself. No turnovers. Gibson can't put the ball on the ground. I think that the point of Seattle being desperate is a very critical point. They just have to play sound fundamental football, no turnovers. I think field position with the wind is going to be key. You got to give long fields to Russell Wilson. You can't give him short fields. I predict 2019, the defense stops a 2-point conversion at the end of the game to hold on and stave off Seattle.
Thanks, Michael. Appreciate it. My personal opinion is I do not want them playing not to lose against anybody down the stretch. I think the best way for this quarterback in particular to play is to play aggressively. So if they're going down, I want them to go down aggressively in any of these games down the stretch. When they've dialed it back a little bit and been a little bit too afraid of making mistakes, that's when they've gotten themselves in trouble. All right, I will be a part of the pregame show in that first hour of the pregame show tonight, so tune in for that. Tune in all day. Travis next. Reese follows Travis. Then it's Chris and Pete taking you up to the official pregame show. Back early tomorrow morning, 6 a.m., with a recap of a Monday night game where Washington could get themselves into very good playoff position with still 6 games left. Enjoy the rest of the day. Back tomorrow.
I always thought owning a vacation home was hard work, from finding guests to just maintaining it. But with Vacasa, they put my vacation home to work for me, caring deeply for my home in every way. Best of all, since switching from my last property manager, Vacasa has been earning us over 20% more. Because it's not just a vacation home, it's a Vacasa home.
Get your free vacation income estimate to see how much your vacation home can earn you. Call 470-900-4828 or visit vacasa.com/free-estimate.
Everyone, quiet down. We're recording. Okay, so what do you call it?
IG.
Instagram. IG. Okay. And what do you want to be?
Oh, jeez. I want to be known for making people feel good. I think I'm something new every day.
I like to try stuff out.
I want to be me. That's it, really.
I want, I don't know. I'm going to get back to you on that.
Whoever it is you want to be, it's yours to make. Instagram.
This is what we've all been waiting for. To gather together. To open something wrapped with care. To make someone smile. And jingle all the way home. We've been waiting all year to come together and make this December one to remember. Have a happy and safe holiday season from Lexus. Experience amazing at your Lexus dealer.